You are what your mind is. When we introduce a person and say he's a great man, a good man, not so good person or whatever, what exactly are you referring to? Are you referring to his height, his shoes, his tie, his clothes, his hairstyle? Definitely not. What are you referring to? His mind. Everything that you talk about a person, when you introduce that person, is about his mind. He's a wonderful person. He's a great person. He's good, he's bad, he's indifferent, he's whatever you say, you're talking about the what? Mind. You are what your mind is, and not what your body is. You are recognized, you are respected. Everything is because of your mind. And so, before we talk about managing the mind, let's talk about the importance of the mind in our own life. The role of the mind in our lives. It is said that Atmaiva Atmano Bandhu Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. Your own mind is your best friend, and your own mind is your worst what? Enemy. All of you must have noticed early morning, what prevents you from getting up? Is it people? No, it's your mind. 5 minutes more. Who says that? Come on. It's your mind. Whatever you've been able to achieve in this life, who supported you the most? You may say, so and so, I've become great because of X person. But believe me, if your mind had not cooperated, X person could have done nothing. Do you agree with me? Yes? So it's your mind that's your best friend and your worst enemy. Isn't it true? How many of us are persecuted by our own mind? Do you agree? What prevents us from sleeping at night? Is it the mother-in-law? Definitely not. It's your own mind which doesn't shut up and switch off. Even all the lights are off, this doesn't switch off, you can't sleep. Is it true or not? So therefore, what is the importance of your mind in your life? Your mind is your best friend, your mind is your worst enemy. Manaiva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. One of the most famous statements. All bondage is mental, and liberation is also what? From your mind. This is a very famous example given by all Upanishad teachers. You must have heard it sometime. By the way, how many of you are listening to me for the first time? Just put up your hand. This is for my own. Oh, wow. Where are the old people? I had a big, full audience, you know this. And I always tell them, you know, just as I was coming, they said, oh, you'll have the same crowd. And I'm so happy that I don't have the same crowd. Welcome all of you to this. It's very nice always to have a new crowd. And because it's a new crowd, let me give one more introduction than what he has given. I have a very bad habit. When I give my talks, I ask a lot of questions and I expect my audience to answer. The main reason was that when I was in college, we had professors, and all of you I'm sure have had such professors, that they keep talking and you sleep and they don't bother to wake you up. Is it true or not? So at that point of time, I decided in my life, I never thought I'd be a speaker, but I said that if at all I ever give a talk to any audience, I won't allow them to sleep. And I found one of the best way to keep them awake is to keep asking them questions. Will you all answer them? I think most of them are awake. And you know, the fact that your eyes are open is no guarantee that you are not asleep, because some people sleep with their eyes open. So please answer. It may be very simple questions, but that's my way of ensuring that everyone is awake. So we find that all bondage, and by bondage, the meaning of the implication of the word bondage means sorrow, stress, strain, all the things that you and I want to get rid of and have so many seminars, stress management and so many other things like that. This is all called bondage in Upanishadic language. So all that is in the mind. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. All bondage is of the mind. This man had 2 buffaloes. He used to take them to graze every day. And in the afternoon, he would tie them up, take rest so that don't wander off, untie them, bring them back every day in the evening. One day when he took them, it so happened that one of the ropes around the buffalo's neck got lost. It must have fallen off somewhere. So he's wondering how to tie the buffalo. So he found a small kutia with a Swami over there and went and said, do you have a rope? I need a rope to tie my buffalo. Once I finish doing it, I'll return it back to you. Can you lend me a rope? He says, if I had to have all these ropes and bondages, why would I be here? I'm free of them, so I don't have a rope. Then he said, look, this is my problem. I want to tie this buffalo. What do I do? He says, do you tie the buffalo every day? Saying, of course I tie it every day. Then tie it like every day. But I don't have a rope. That is it. You know you don't have a rope. The buffalo doesn't know it. Okay? Fine. So, just do what you do every day. And he said, and he did the whole thing. And to his utter surprise, the buffalo sat down like it did every day. And he says, fine, this looks like some magic of the Swami, doesn't matter. I'll go and rest. So he rested for some time and he got up, and then the buffalo that he actually tied, he untied, and the other buffalo, he says, the buffalo wouldn't get up. The buffalo. He went to the Swami and says, Arey, release this buffalo, I want it back. What have you done, some mantra or something like that? It's not getting up. He says, you've tied it, now untie it. Arey, but maine to aise dhong kiya hai. I just pretended to tie it. He says, pretend to untie it. Just go and do that. And he did. And to his surprise, what happened? It got up and started walking. You understand? We laugh at the buffalo. We are exactly in that state. All of us. Exactly. It's all over here. You know, I'm stressed out. Where is it? I can't get out of my worry. I can't stop worrying. The control is with you. No, I don't have control. You think you don't have control, so you don't have control. The fact is, you think you don't have control, you don't have control. That's a fact. You think you have control, you have control. But this thing is very difficult to understand. Do you all agree with me? Yes. 5-year-olds nowadays say, मेरे को टेंशन हो रहा है. So the grandmother said, tension? I am getting a headache. I am getting examination tension. So the grandmother is saying, my dear, at your age, I didn't know what was a head, leave alone a headache. And now, no wonder he is answering with a big yes. So it's all we feel. I think I'm bound. No, I can't. I've seen many times, people tell me, Swamiji, I can't. I want to come to your lectures, but I can't. I can't leave my home. So I said, does the home tie you? No, but I have to stay. I said, does the home want company? No. How can I leave the home alone? Arey, can you imagine the bondage that we have? Come on. Where is that bondage? In the home? Come on. Then people tell me funny things like, Swamiji, this phone has this terrible, it rings at all odd hours. Especially when you sit to eat lunch, the phone rings. I said, what a funny thing. In the olden days, we had phones with no off, you didn't have an off thing like, And now you have it, you can switch it off. So I said, why don't you switch it off? He's saying, nahi, phone aayega to. You see the contradiction. You say you don't want the phone, you switch it off. No. Important call aayega to. I said, then don't complain, then just sit there with the phone. Are you understanding what I'm saying? It's all here. We create all the bondage, we are bound. And how are we bound? Not physically. Who is bound physically? Come on. It's all Manaiva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. It is said, Nayasya vidya manasotirikta manohi avidya bhavabanta hetu tasmin vinashte sakalam vinashta vijrumbhates means sakalam vijrumbhate. It is in the growth, in the birth, in the very coming into play of the mind that the whole world comes to play, and it's when the destruction of the mind, the world goes into non-existence. Okay, who wakes up in the morning, first thing in the morning? It's your mind that wakes up and you are awake. Is it true or not? And the world is there for you. And the mind is switched off. Where is the world? Where is the world? Not there. With the mind, the world starts. And that's with you 24 hours, 365 days. From your birth to the death, the one that stays with you all the time is your mind. Is it true or not? No person stays with you all the time. It's your mind that's with you all the time. Your body is not with you all the time, but your mind is there every waking moment of your life. Do you agree with me? And that's what's called waking. When your mind is there, it's waking. When it's not there, you're not awake. So, tasmin vinashte sakalam vinashtam. Everything is gone when the mind is gone and everything. And I tell you, your day is made with your mind and it's destroyed by your mind. I remember always our Guruji used to say, he's saying some days you get up in the morning and you say, good morning God. Yeah, what's wrong with your mind? I mean, what's this? Your mind is in a very good mood. So you get up and say what? Good morning God. And some days you get up and say, good God, morning. Isn't that true? What happened? What happened? It was the mind. Mind is in a good mood, the world is beautiful. The mind is not in a good mood and everything is terrible and horrible. Do you agree with me? Yes. At least I know one person is awake. In our scriptures, in the Upanishads, they talk of creation. Two types of creations are talked about. One is called Krama Srishti. Creation that happens in stages, in steps. From very logically it's given. Atmanaha akasha sambhutaha. Akashad vayuhu vayur agnihi agnehe apaha adbhya prithvi prithvyam oshadayaha etc. Oshadaya annam. That from the Lord, from the supreme truth, the 5 elements came into existence, and then in science talks of Big Bang, etc. So there are steps. This is what happened, and then next this happened, and this happened, and this happened. This is one type of creation described in our Upanishads. The second type of creation described in our Upanishad, which all of you know, and that is called Sankalpa Srishti. How does it happen? So kamayata bahusyam praja yeyeti satapo tapyata satapas taptva idagam sarvam asrijata. You are a master creator and you do it every night beautifully. You close your eyes, you fall off to sleep and you dream. And in your dream, how do you create the whole dream world? Do you create it in steps? First Akasha, from Akasha Vayu, from Vayu Agni. Do you create like that? Do you create your great-grandfather first and then your grandfather and then your father and then... How do you create? The whole thing is there in 1 second, all together, everyone is there. The sun and the moon and the stars. You have the capacity and you create it every day. Some of you create it all the time, even in the daytime. Isn't it true? Dreams. This is called Sankalpa Srishti. It's all from the mind. The mind projects the whole world. And my, what a world it projects. It takes all the material that it wants from the daytime experiences and God, what a fantastic, this man, he sat in a bus, in a public bus, crowded bus, and then he found to his utter delight a very beautiful girl, young boy. So he found a very beautiful girl with a mini skirt with polka dots. sitting right next to him, and he says, wow, God has been very kind today morning. I want to now talk to this girl and get... So he started, and he was feeling a little this. And by the time he's, got over his hesitancy and all that, she got up and went off. This Gaya chance. Anyway, then he was watching, and what do you say, the roadside he found a procession going with, in our country we have all the wild animals on the road, a procession of elephants and everything. So dum 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 dum, elephants going here, there and all. And he was watching it, fascinated and all. And he went home. He was tired, he went off to sleep, and what does he see in his dream? Someone knocks on the door, and he opens it, and he finds an elephant in a mini skirt of polka dots. This is his capacity. He can create this. Have you understood this? He creates it and he welcomes, oh, so nice to meet you. This is the mind. The power of the mind, which can create anything and everything. Now, there is something called a Vyashti. All these are ideas that I've taken from the Upanishads, okay? Don't think it's just thrown here. There's something called a Vyashti mana, individual mind, and there's something called the total mind. I want you to introduce you to this total mind concept. The Lord, He has no separate mind from what is called the total mind, or it's called in the language of Upanishad, the Hiranyagarbha. Maybe this concept I may not be able to explain to you right now, but I'll tell you its effects, which all of us can notice it. There's something called a samashti man, a total mind which plays and has a terrific influence on every one of us. I remember when I was in school, we had a fashion of lungis, girls wearing lungis. Anyone remembers that? Girls used to wear lungis. And we thought we looked very smart in that. Believe me, I also wore them. Now if a girl walks in with a lungi, what will happen? Bolo. Will anyone think it looks cool? I remember a time when this very, very funny, I always thought it was funny, but then luckily it's gone out. The girls used to have, their hairstyles change all the time, but all of them, they had like a ponytail coming up from one end, like some shower, like some, did you notice it? In the middle there was this, and everyone thought it looked very, what? Cool. Hip. Now, the thing is, everyone thinks like that. Right now, whatever you wear, you think you look very cool, you look in, you are, is it true or not? Now, who created this idea? It's a samashti man. Do you all agree with me? Yes. You've been brainwashed into thinking this looks, what? Your idea of beauty is completely a product of samashti man. Do you agree with me? There was a time when they had this, what is it called? It was, I used to call it tapeli cut. You put a tapeli and whatever is left, you cut it off. Mushroom cut they used to call it, I think, yeah. Well, that was considered as very, who told them it looks beautiful? Well, samashti man, and you think that's it? Are you understanding? All of a sudden, there is this thing of wearing these rubber bands. You've seen that? Why? Because someone in America thinks wearing rubber bands is cool. Is it true or not? Everyone is wearing rubber bands. Some years back, your great-great-grandfathers, all of them, no exception, all of you of Indian origin, your great-great-great-grandfathers, doesn't matter who you were, whether you were a Brahmin or whatever, your great-great-great-grandfathers wore earrings. Are you aware of that? And now your son will definitely wear earrings. Why? Because it's very, but not because his great-grandfather wore it, because, so we are all, what? And we think, oh, I'm very independent thinker. Now you tell this guy, no, I don't believe in, what believe? You're completely brainwashed. You are not thinking independently. The samashti man has such a control over you, and you think what everyone wants you to think. Is it not what advertisement is doing? Tell me. It's a samashti man. notice, you put a piece of bread, you put bread, a burger, and you put chapatis. Whether it is North India or South India, the traditional South India, or East India or West India, what will a 10-year-old pick up? Bolo. A burger. Why? This is called samashtiman. Have you understood this? This is samashtiman at work. It has such an influence on each one of us. We don't even know it. We don't even realize it. It's guiding everything that we do. This is called samashtiman. And we say, I don't believe in God. Oh, Rama, you don't know what you're doing. You're acting by His will. You don't even know you're acting by His will. There's, of course, there's the Vyashtiman. And I tell you, Ishwar Srishti is there. The world is created by God, but there's also something called a Jiva Srishti. Your own individual creation which you live in. You don't live most of the time in Ishwar Srishti. Most of the time you live in Jiva Srishti. What is this? What is it? It's a watch. No, it is my watch. What is it? Now this concept of my, where is it? Where is it? For you it's just a watch. For you it's what? For me it's my. Now where is this my? Is it in the watch? Oh no. Is it in this creation? Not at all. It's here. But for me, when I look at it, I never look at it as a watch. I always look at it as my watch. Is it true or not? Don't you all look at your own children also, not just as someone, but as my child? And where's this minus? It is not in that object at all. Nowhere in that object is this minus. Nowhere in the object is the beauty. This is all in your mind. Do you all agree with me? There was this one man running fast, dashed against another young man going, and both of them crashed into each other. He says, "Hey, dekh ke chalo re. Kahan jata hai itna jaldi?" So he said, you know, I'm in a hurry. Why? I'm getting divorced. So I'm going to get, this, I'm this. So this fellow is saying, you should have seen now. Where are you going? He's saying, I'm going to get married. And to their utter surprise, they found that it was the same girl that one was getting. Now, where this guy thinks she is everything in the world, and the other one thinks she is what? Now, where is all that? It's in the girl. Bolo. It's in the girl. Where is it? You know, the Laila Majnu story, all of you are very familiar with. Who was the girl and who was the boy? I always get mistaken for that. Who was Laila? Laila is the girl, obviously. Because Majnu word also sounds, like a girl's name. Anyway. So, Laila wasn't very pretty. So Majnu was told, how come she's not that pretty? What's the big deal? He's saying, if you want to see beauty in Laila, you should see through the eyes of Majnu. All of you know, beauty lies in the eyes of the... So where is this concept that you have? It's all of us are living in Jiva Srishti. Do you all agree with me? We're not living in God's own creation. We are living in our own what? Individual creation. And then we go about it and we say, this is the way it is. This is the way. And I argue with you that it is like that, and you argue with me saying it is like that. Don't we all do that? And it's my creation. I've made it like that, and I think that's the way it is. And you think that's the way it is, and we don't agree on this. So this is called as all the mind. Then I'm going to make one statement which will seem a rather this. Manomayam tad bhuvanam samastam. The whole creation is only in your mind. Now that is too much. Okay, where is this watch? In my hand. Where is my hand? On my body. And where is this body? On the stage. And where is this stage? It's in IIM. And where is IIM? It is in Ahmedabad. Where is Ahmedabad? It's in Gujarat. Where is Gujarat? It's in Asia. Where is Asia? It is on this earth. And where is this earth? So far it's so easy, so I'm just going fast. Where is this earth? It is in space. And where is space? Where is space? Space is everywhere, but where? Where do you experience it? In your deep sleep state, do you experience space? No. You don't. You don't experience anything. In your deep sleep state, there is no space. It is only when your mind wakes up, there is this space. Concept of time and place is in your mind as thoughts. Is it true or not? Apart from thought, you cannot prove the existence of time or space or anything in the world. It's a thought in your mind. And where are thoughts? Is the thought in the body, or is the mind in the body, or is the body in the mind? Tell me, where is this watch? Prove the existence of this watch apart from a thought in your mind. No one in the world can prove that. You may say, I may not be there, the watch will be there. How do you know that? How do you know that? Well, if I go away somewhere and then I come back again and I'll ask you, and you will have experienced this thought. How will you know that you experience that thought? It will again be a thought in your mind. Is it true or not? Come on. And therefore, at the end of the day, what do you understand? That the whole world is in your mind. It's a terrific conclusion. Are you understanding? I'm saying this because we must understand the place of the mind in our life. We have never realized, the importance. We never give it importance. We all came prepared for the talk. And what did you prepare when you came for this talk? You prepared your body, not your mind. Is it true or not? And what's going to listen to the talk? Is it the body or the mind? And most of our life, we are only preparing our bodies and never the mind. It is the mind that faces life and not your body. Do you all agree with me? You ask anyone who's going to get married. Swamiji, बहुत तैयारी चल रही है. શું ચાલે છે? તો કે બધું સ્વામીજી બહુ ખરીદવું પડે. 1 વર્ષ પહેલેથી. શું ખરીદવાનું છે? તો કે સ્વામીજી બધી સાડીઓ ને બધી કેટલી સાડી ખરીદી. ના સ્વામીજી એક સાથે બધી નહીં લેવાય. એક જગ્યાએથી બધી ના લેવાય. દરરોજ Okay, 1 year you prepare. And what do you prepare? Saris and God knows what all things. And who is going to stay together? The bodies would meet, but it is the minds that meet. Is it true or not? If the minds are together, everything is fine. The minds are not together, it just doesn't. And mind is never prepared. The mind is never prepared. And therefore, when they meet together, they said, God, I never knew he was like that. 1 whole year, what happened? He was so busy preparing your house and surroundings and the body and everything but the mind that was meant to live with that person. Are you getting my point? Everywhere in life, everything in life, this is what exactly we are doing. We're not training the mind, we're not, preparing the mind to face life. And that is what faces, and that is what is facing the world, moment to moment. Now, having understood this, let's go to the next thing. Point was the power of the mind. The mind has a terrific power over your body. In fact, all those who are doctors would agree that so much of all diseases, many part of it is psychosomatic. Do you all agree with me? How much of it? Some diseases are called psychosomatic diseases. It's all the mind playing. I always remember the story of, the Vice Chancellor of the Gujarati University. You had a plane crash quite a few years back, almost 15-20 years back. Yes, and at that time I remember the story. He himself related it to me, and I was very impressed with that. When the plane crashed and they landed, crash landed, they were in the flight and they knew this plane is going to burst and they didn't know how to come out. So they broke the window. There was one small little guy. So this Vice Chancellor, he caught hold of this guy and he threw him out of the window and he himself jumped out. When he jumped out, he realized there was this terrific pain in his leg. He said, I don't have to think about it because if you don't go away from the plane and it bursts into flames, we'll get burnt. So he carried this young boy because this young boy was completely stunned. He couldn't do anything. He carried this young boy and he ran as far away from the plane as possible, and there when he went, he just collapsed. He knew the pain was so much, he knew that if he did not, he was becoming unconscious. And he says, if he becomes unconscious, everyone goes to the plain side. They don't even know there are 2 survivors over here. And they desperately needed medical help. The child needed, he himself needed medical help. So he kept awake. And the only way he knew how to keep awake was shouting on the top of his voice, biting his lips so that he could keep awake. And somehow he caught the attention of someone, and then they came to him. And then the doctors, they took him to the hospital. They found both of his legs were completely multiple fracture. With multiple fracture, he carried a young boy and ran. This is called mind over body. Have you understood that? We can't even dream of it. Multiple fracture, you think you can run carrying something in someone? This is called body, the mind over body. There are many such incidents. You all know there is this, in New York, there is an island called Brooklyn. Recently I read, a beautiful story came to me about how the Brooklyn Bridge was built. A father and son team took up this ambitious project. Everyone thought they were absolutely crazy and it will never work out. Anyway, the work started and there was this terrible storm and a lot of accidents happened during the storm. The father died, the son was completely paralyzed. The only thing that has worked, his mind was completely safe, the body was paralyzed, his tips moved a little bit, and that's it. Fingertips moved a little bit. Now he's frustrated, he's locked up in a body that doesn't function at all. The father is dead, the project is gone. He says, I want to finish my father's wish and I want to see that the bridge is done. What does he do? His wife, on her hand, he developed a language by tapping her, giving her instructions, technical instructions. The only person who understood what he was saying was his wife. So through his wife, tapping his fingers on her hand, he conveyed how the entire bridge was going to be built, and 10 years this happened. And the bridge was built. Can you imagine? What is this? You and I would have given up long back. Is it true or not? Have you understood this? This is the mind. And mind over mind, all of you know hypnosis, you know so many auto-suggestion. Your own mind can conquer all the fears of your mind, and you can do anything and everything. Is it true or not? The power of the mind, the scope of the mind. They say Stephen Hawking, all of you must have heard of him, he's a very famous physicist. He uses 4% of his total brain power. How much do you think you and I must be using? Think of it, a person like him. So we find that our brain power, our mind power is just unbelievable. We have not even explored. The Upanishad, the rishis were the ones who had explored a lot of their mind power, and therefore for them siddhis, which you and I talk right now as miracles, were so common. Walking over water, flying, levitation, all these things, anima, garima, mahima, all these siddhis are nothing but the power of the mind. Have you understood? And they are not stories, they were facts at one time. All that was achieved right now, what is being achieved right now by Yantra Shakti, was at that time achieved through Mantra Shakti. Is it true or not? And what is Mantra Shakti but the power of the mind? Having understood the power of the mind, let's go to the next question of what is the mind. What is the mind? Annamayam hi saumya manaha. What is the content? What is it made up of? Mind. It's made up of subtle. It's a subtle material that it's made up of. Not the gross material that you can see. It's made of subtle material. Therefore, you can't see it with your eyes. You can't hear it with your ears. You can't smell it with your nose. You can't touch it with your skin. You can't taste it with your tongue. The mind is made of subtle material, and therefore you can't experience it with your 5 gross sense organs. Is that understood? But it is made up of material. It is still matter, and it is made up of subtle matter, and says this subtle matter and this material is provided by the food that you eat, and therefore in every Indian language you will definitely have a similar proverb, Jevu anna tevo odkar. Isn't there a statement? Je tame khao cho, that becomes your mind. That's what the Upanishad says. Annamayam hi manaha saumya. So the material of the mind, and therefore, many times people say, Swamiji, आजकल ભણતા જ નથી અથવા એમને શું યાદ જ નથી. I tell you, you take a typical South Indian in the olden days, Vishnu Sahasranam by heart, this by heart, that by heart. Is it true or not? Lalita Sahasranam by heart, this by heart. Nothing, everything. And away, the only thing they remember by heart are the TV ads, right? Yes. Tables you ask them to do, they can't do it nowadays. It's just gone. The memory is gone. Why? Look at the type of food that they are eating. Are you understanding that? Yes or no? Fast food, short-term memories. You understand? You ask a age, and I'm giving an example of my own my grandfather. He had done BA in these olden days, you know, the BA that. And he used to tell me that in the 5th standard we learned this poetry. And then in the 7th standard this was taught. And the 8th standard, till his BA, every year what was taught, he remembered at the age of 85. You ask any student over here, 7th standard student, what he was taught in the 6th standard, and you will not get anything. Is it true or not? I have told so many schools. I said, I challenge you. After the vacation, give the same exam paper that you gave before the vacation. Don't even change the question, and you give the same paper, and you will see the first ranker will also fail. Is it true or not? And this is it. Where is the, nothing gone. What is the food they eat? What is the Annamayam, the mind, the quality of the mind. One of the things that affects the mind is the food that you eat, because that's the content, that's what's made up of, the material. What is the mind? Mind is a flow of thoughts. It's a continuous flow of thoughts, vritti prabha. And what's the meaning of the word vritti? Vartanat vritti, that which keeps changing all the time. The fastest thing in the world, they say, is the speed of light. 3 into 10 raised to 6 what? Kilometers per second. That's what they say. The fastest thing in the world. And it takes 11 minutes for the light from the sun to come to the earth. And how much time does it take your mind to go to the sun and come back again? Isn't it? So much faster. The fastest thing in the world. By the time, I'm telling you, this mind is such a funny thing. What happens? The power, many times, many people say, Swamiji, the mind gets distracted even when you listen to people. I'm sure so many times your mind must have gone out and God alone knows where and come back again. Some people's has gone out, it's not come back at all. It's God alone knows where it is. Some people never brought their mind at all in the first place. It's only the body that came over here. God alone knows where it is. Why does it happen? When you are listening to a speaker, your thoughts are going anywhere. Why? Even though the talk may be very absorbing, still the mind wanders, because the speed of my speech can never match the speed of your mind. Have you understood that? So I am talking, and I am talking pretty fast. And yet your mind can grasp not just what I am talking, you are also observing what my gestures are, you are observing so many other things, and you are also observing what your friend or your enemy is thinking of what I am speaking. Is it true or not? Your neighbor or somewhere like that. So many things together. Why? Because this is your capacity. It's a continuous flow of thoughts. And that's why, when people say, and what type of thoughts? Oh, innumerable objects and innumerable different type of thoughts all the time flowing in your mind. And that is why when people say, when they fall in love, they make this statement, I am thinking of you 24 hours. Remember, this is the biggest lie in the world. No one can do that. It's all lies. Do you know, if one thought continuously remains in your mind for just 30 seconds, you will go into samadhi. Are you aware of that? How much? 30 seconds. And you say 24 hours, I think of you. Nonsense. You think of everything other than the person. Once in a while you think of that person, and then again go somewhere else, and again go somewhere else. This is the mind. Continuous flow. It's like a... What is the state of that mind right now? My God. Bhagwan has made all of us with 3 manufacturing defects. It is part of the product. Nothing he could do about it. And what are these 3? And I'm not making my own, making them up like that. It's the Upanishads that say the 3 are called Mala, Vikshepa and Ajnana Avarana. Mala, the dirt of the mind. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, etc. Is it true or not? And I say, always say, thank God Bhagavan made it such that we can't see each other's mind. Isn't it a boon? Bolo. I tell you, if we could see each other's mind, no two people will sit next to each other. Agreed? Husband and wife relation impossible. बाहर से कहेंगे I love you, अंदर से कहेंगे कब मर जाएगी. And God alone knows how many thoughts must be going, which may be vyabhichari thoughts, etc. But outside it is all. Is it true or not? I tell you, thank God we can't see, but we know na. Whether anyone else knows or not, we know. Chanchalam. Our mind is, one is all kama, krodha, lobha, so much of greed. Sometimes our thoughts are so ridiculous, so silly, sometimes so, what do you call it? Aggressive, sometimes violent, mean, cheap, sometimes very supreme, sublime, great, beautiful. This is the mind. And most of us, management gurus nowadays, they say that one part of the mind everyone knows. You also know, we also know. Supposing someone is very angry type of a person, the neighbors also know that this guy is, they can hear, him shout and all that. Everyone knows. There's one part of the mind that others know, but you don't know. There is one part of the mind. Please become aware of that. Others understand you perfectly in certain things, and you can't see yourself. There are some people who are very proud, and you ask them, the way you walk, you can make out this person is very proud. But he will say, nahi, blissfully unaware of their mind. There is one part of the mind that you know and others don't know, and therefore everyone, whoever is sitting over here with no exception, we all feel no one really understands me. Is it true or not? No one really understands. Your best friend, your husband who's been married to you 25 years, or your wife, no one really. Why? Because no one really, of course they don't understand. And why should they? There was a contract written or what? That everyone in the world should understand you. This funny notion that we all have, everyone must understand me. Why? They have better things to do. Do you agree? I mean, this is very funny notion that we all have. Everyone must understand me. Understand me. But why should they? And you yourself change every moment. You don't understand yourself every moment. And everyone else must understand you. Why? Have you got this? If you get out of all these funny notions, now you live happily. They don't understand you, fine. I also don't understand myself. They don't understand me, fine. So what? Are you with me? So therefore, we find that the mind, first thing we need to do is understand our own mind. Try to get to know as much of it. There's some part of it we don't know about at all. So therefore, try and understand. I always say mind is like mathematics. The mind, the human mind is like, like emotions, etc. Sometimes people say, no, they cannot be. Yes. I always call it the mathematics of emotions or the logic of emotions. You say, no, they are illogical. No, they are. Our scriptures give beautiful examples of the logical. I'm going to analyze one or two for your understanding. And how important it is for us to know our mind, understand our mind. Then we know how to cope with it. Becomes a little easier to master this mind. I'm going to take one particular, first a very common one. All of us have anger, right? Anyone free from anger? I can make them angry right now if I want to. All of us. Understand how anger happens. It's just a simple thing. Kamat krodho vijayate. Whenever there is a desire that you want to fulfill, any obstacle that comes in the way of fulfilling desire, what you feel towards the obstacle is called anger. Is it true or not? Simple. This is logic. And what are we doing? We want to get rid of anger, but we want to increase our desires. You think it's going to work? Well, the more intense the desire, the greater is the anger towards the obstacle in fulfilling your desire. Isn't it pure mathematics? Bolo. The less intense the desire, the lesser is the anger that you feel. I want to go for a movie and mummy says no. I have to go for a movie and mummy says no. The anger is more. And I'd like to go for a movie. She said no, it's okay. Yeah, have you got this? It's a simple logic. And what are we doing? We are increasing the number of our desires all the time, and still, and you know, the more the number of desires, the lesser are the chances of what? What? Fulfilling. Because so many people want the same thing, demand and supply, all sorts of things, and it's not possible. Sometimes you have conflicting desires. Don't you all? Bolo. TV bhi dekhna hai, so bhi jana hai. So many conflicting desires all the time, and then you think, no, I'm going to get out of anger and frustration. Why? By increasing your desires. We don't do anything about desires, and we want to control anger. How is it going to happen? Kamat, krodha. If you understand these simple reasons for half the problems that we have, it'd be so easy. There's another thing. And I'm going to take this emotion for the very fact that rarely, if at all, anyone ever admits to this particular emotion, and that is called, it's a negative emotion, I'll take a positive also afterwards, and that is called jealousy. Jealousy is something no one will ever admit to having. Envy, you may admit. Jealousy, never. What is the difference? And I'll tell you what is jealousy. I'm analyzing it to make you understand how you must analyze your mind. What is jealousy? When I have a value for something, someone else has a greater amount of it and a little more than me, then the feeling that I have towards that object or a person is called jealousy. If I don't have a value for it, and if someone else has as much as of it, I will not feel jealous. You may have beautiful jewelry, I will never feel jealous of you. Why? Because I don't have a value for it. If I had value for it, and then you displayed all your jewelry, I said, God, the only thing I miss about being a sannyasi is the jewelry. You understand? But if I don't have value for it, you can have as much of it as you want. It's not going to affect me. Have you understood this? And you will definitely not be jealous of my orange saris, right? Because you have no value for it. How can you get jealous of it? You'll say, ek aur bhi main bhi deti hu, chalo jao. You get it? You must have a value for a thing. And then someone else must have a little more of it. The emphasis word on the word little. A beggar is never jealous of a multimillionaire. Never, it's not possible. The beggar can be envious of a multimillionaire saying ki kya hai. But a beggar will be jealous of another beggar down the road who gets 20 rupees more than him. Is it true or not? This is it. That's what I mean by jealousy. It's such a petty emotion that we won't admit to it. Because it's so petty. And jealousy can be of your near and dear ones also. Is it true or not? There can be jealousy between a husband and wife. You can be jealous of your children also. You can be jealous of a... And that's why you can be jealous of your best friend. It's possible. Have you understood? And these are the reasons why we'll never admit to the fact of having it. If you don't even admit that you have it, how are you going to get out of it? If I see my face in the mirror and I see a spot and I don't even want to accept that I have a black spot on my face, how am I going to get rid of it? Are you getting my point? This is what happens. Jealousy we won't admit. Even after me telling you all, how do you know that you are jealous of another person? How do you know? It's a very simple test. Do you want to know it? It might make you uncomfortable. Whenever anyone talks very nice things about that person, you don't like it. Simple. Anyone talks good things, nice things, you know, you don't know, this person is so nice, this and all. The minute that person talks, you feel terrible. And if you are a little more aggressive, you will try to bring down the opinion of that person in the eyes of another person who admires. Is it true or not? You will do that. So this is what jealousy. What is the difference between jealousy and competition? I'm telling you all this is because to understand, analyze your own mind. You understand, this is called competition, this is called jealousy. Two people A and B are racing. One is going ahead, the other is a little slow. person who is going ahead, A, who is faster, he looks at B and he realizes that the B has a chance of coming up to A. So A has a feeling of competition because he's still in the race. B also feels that if I run fast enough, I'll be able to come. So B also feels a sense of competition. A shoots right ahead. B realizes I can't. What? And then the feeling that could come is called what? Jealousy. In a competition, you think that you can come up to the level of the other person, you can still rise up to whatever the other person's expectations or values or whatever are. But when jealousy is there, there's a downward pull. You can't go up to that person, so you pull that person down, so that the other person, you think then you are both on equal level or superior to that person. Is it true or not? Have you thought of it? In jealousy, you will talk bad of that person. Bring the opinion of others in the eyes of them. You don't know. It's like if you are jealous of me, which I know none of you are. But, oh, Vimalanand, you don't know what she is. I know. Then immediately you say, अरे मेरे को तो पता ही नहीं था, बताओ क्या है, बताए. अरे क्या बोलना अभी, जाने दो ना अभी. आप सुनते हैं इतनी प्रेम से तो सुनो. I know ना. Then the other person's, value for that person is shaken up. You feel very happy inside. If you feel happy like that, understand what? That this, have you got my point? Why I analyze this is because many times, many of our mind weaknesses, we don't even know. If we don't know, we don't understand, we don't even analyze. How are we going to get rid of it? How are we going to master the mind which we don't even understand? What's happening inside? So therefore, first thing we need to do is understand and know our mind. What is the mind? We must know. The mind is divided in our scriptures as mana, buddhi, chitta and ahankara. Mana, sankalpa, vikalpa. Shall I do it? Shall I not? Or emotions, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, etc. Emotions. This is all. Love, faith, all these. Then you have buddhi, imagination, observation, organizing capacity, creativity, sensitivity, all these are intellectual capacity. The capacity to discriminate, determination, decide, all these are intellectual capacities. Then chitta, smaranatmika vritti, memory, to be able to recall and remember, bring back all the information as and when required. And ahankara. Ahankara doesn't mean pride. Ahankara over here means the notion of I. All of us commonly have ahankara. Some of us have pride also. What is ahankara? The notion of I. Meaning, I am a woman, I am a Swami. I feel I am a Swami. You feel I am a boy, or I am a man, I am a girl, I am a woman, I am Mrs. So-and-so. This feeling of I remember, I think, I know, I understand. This I in each thought is called ahankara. Have you understood what is this ahankara? Ahankara is not pride. Pride is what? If I say I am a Swami, it is not called ahankara. If I say I am the best Swami in the world, that's called pride. Have you understood that? To say I am a Swami is not is ahankara, but to say I am the best Swami in the world is called abhimana or pride. You understood the difference between ahankara and pride?
What is
Ego. Ego, if you have understood ego as pride, then it is this. But normally in the Vedantic language, in the language of the Upanishads, we call ego as the I notion in you. मैं बोल रही हूँ, आप सुन रहे हो, आपको याद आ रहा है. This notion of मैं. In every thought you have I. This notion is called ahankara or ego and not pride. Pride is abhimana or garva. These are the words used technically. They are separated because otherwise this mistake happens. So we are talking about ahankara as the I notion behind every thought. Now, mana, buddhi, chitta and ahankara are all only functional differences, but they are all basically thoughts. Will you understand? They are basically thoughts. Now, as I said, what is the state of our mind at this time? Then we'll talk of mastering it. Okay. If you are driving a car and the instructor says stop, you're learning to drive. Instructor says stop, and if you can stop, turn, you can turn. You can reverse, you reverse. Take a U-turn, you turn. Then you are qualified. You get a license and you can go onto the roads and do what you do. That's what they do in the... I was told that the test that they take is you have to go from here to here straight and nothing else. The test that they take over here in Ahmedabad, isn't it? They just, nothing else. And what happens, such people come on the road and you know what happens in Ahmedabad. Now, if you have understood that you need all these type of skills to be able to master your vehicle, I am going to ask you, let's do a small test. Stop thinking. I am sure no one managed that. Is it true or not? Recollect what you ate on 27th of August last year for lunch. Swamiji, it was my birthday. Then you were... Don't think about a monkey. Are you getting my point? Are we the masters of our mind? Yes? In fact, sometimes it happens what we don't want to think, we keep thinking all the time. Is it true or not? And what we want to think, let's talk in the language of computers. Every day morning, if you have a PC, what do? The first thing is you upgrade your antivirus program. Isn't it true? That's the first thing you do, or that's what they say you should do. And you have to do it daily, they say. Why? Because new viruses are being discovered each day. And if your computer gets infected, what happens? So many different type of things can happen. There are some viruses which delete certain files from your computer. Is it true or not? There are some viruses which they corrupt the files. And by corrupt the files, what do you mean? They put some word or some sentence or numbers or something in between the information that is already stored. That's one of the virus, they do that. So after every little one, there will be a number 7. Few words and then some figures or something, or some odd word or something. You can't read anything then. You can't. It's called corrupted file. Then sometimes it happens when it's a very, very terrible virus that the whole computer, completely crashes. I'll tell you, all these viruses are right now in our mind. Because we never have an antivirus program in this is the brain is the hardware of your computer, and the software, antivirus, the mind which needs to get this sort of a protection. We have never done anything. I'll prove to you how many of us suffer from the worry virus. After every little bit, I think it will happen. I hope it doesn't happen. What if it happens? I'm sure it will happen. But नहीं होगा तो अच्छा ही है. होगा तो क्या होगा? I hope it doesn't happen, but is it true or not? Every few thoughts, these worry thoughts come up in between. This is called what? Virus. You can't stop it. You can't do anything about it. It just comes anyhow, anytime, anywhere. And how often it happens? What you want to remember? It's what happened? File got deleted. Is it true or not? Come on. How often it has happened to you? How many viruses are right now in our system? We don't even know. We've done nothing to. That is why we find right now the mind is, the first, I said no, the manufacturing defect is mala. All types of these viruses are there. The second is called vikshepa. Vikshepa means distractions of the mind. I already told you how distracted the mind is. How distracted the mind is. The mind doesn't just get focused on anything that you want to do. Concentration is one common problem for all of us. Do you all agree? Yes? As pervasive a problem as many times kids come, Swamiji, how to concentrate the mind? This is a very common question asked in most question answer sessions. And I ask those kids always, do you have any problem in concentrating on the TV? Does anyone have any problem? No, why? Your mind automatically concentrates on that what you love. If you love your studies, you will not have any problem in concentrating. You don't like your studies and naturally your mind, what? It's okay. So therefore, vikshepa or distraction is the second manufacturing defect in all of us. And the third is called ajnana avarana. We really don't know who we are in our own true nature. We think we are the body, we think we are the mind, but we don't know our own true nature. I'll talk a little bit about it a little later. So this is called ajnana avarana, and that is because of that the Vedas, the scriptures, the main scriptures of the Hindus, the Vedas, and these Vedas, believe me, are not written and composed by individuals. The Vedas are the realized truth of the rishis on their seat of meditation. I always give the example of Newton discovering the law of gravity, sitting under the apple tree with an apple falling on his head. What happened to him? He got a sakshatkar of the law of gravity. Have you understood now? In the same way, when they were sitting in their seat of meditation, the rishis realized the truth of the world, different aspects of the world, and those truths, they gave it to their own shishyas, who in turn realized them, gave it to their shishyas, and this knowledge was all pervading in our country. And at one time, Vedavyasa realized it's getting dispersed, and many versions are coming of it, so it's time to compile it into books. And then it got compiled into books which are called the Vedas. So the Vedas are not written by individuals, they are what? They are the what? The realizations of truths of rishis in their seat of meditation, and the compiler and the editor of the Vedas was Vedavyasa. And it's now available as 4 volumes, the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and the Atharva Veda. And these volumes are divided into 3 different sections called kandas, and these 3 are because of our 3 manufacturing defects. Okay, how scientific it is, I want to tell you. The first kanda is called the Karma Kanda. By following the Karma Kanda of the Vedas, what happens? The mala of the mind gets destroyed. By following the Upasana Kanda, the second Kanda of the Vedas, the Vikshepa, the distractions of the mind get destroyed. And by following the Gyana Kanda or the Upanishads of the Vedas, the Ajnana or the ignorance of your nature, of your true self gets destroyed. Have you understood? So what is the knowledge of the Upanishad? The Upanishad gives us knowledge of who I am. And when will this knowledge become really, what do you call it, fruitful and meaningful to us? When our mind is already prepared by getting rid of the mala and the vikshepa. There is a bucket of water in the sunlight and you are not getting a perfect reflection in the bucket. Why? There can be 2 reasons. There is no clouds in the sky is very clear, and yet there is no clear reflection, because either the water is muddy or the water is what? Shaky. If the water becomes clean and steady, you get a perfect reflection in the bucket. Similarly, in the bucket of the body is the water of the mind, and right now what is the state of that? Mala and vikshepa. Have you understood? So when the mala and vikshepa are destroyed, you don't have to bring the reflection into the water. It is already there. You can experience it. Similarly, in our mind, which is pure and steady, the knowledge of who I am is reflected clearly. Have you got this? So the Upanishad tell us how to go get rid of all the mala and the vikshepa and make our mind to go beyond the mind. Now this is the last point that I would like to make. What is the limit of the mind? What is the ultimate and the culmination of this great beautiful instrument that the good Lord has given to each one of us? What is its culmination? What is its highest achievement? You may say technology has taken us so far and all that. Fantastic. There is no question. When you look at the computers and we look at all the technological advances, you just have to say, hats off to that mind of man which has made it all possible. Do you agree with me? Yes, it's true. But yet, what is the culmination? What's the ultimate there where the mind can reach? And that is a beautiful, I'll just give it to you through an example, makes it easy for me to explain. There's one sport which is it looks very nice also, it's one of my favorite, and that is pole vaulting. Have you seen it? They do the pole vaulting sport in the Olympics and all, you find. So, you have the person taking a pole, he runs with the pole, at the right time fixes the pole into the ground, takes the support of the pole and then goes over another pole and reaches the other side. Okay? To go over the pole, he needs a pole. Okay? But his ultimate aim is to go beyond the pole. Have you understood? And for going beyond the pole, he needs a special type of pole. And what type of a pole is that? It has to be sharp. It has to be strong. It has to be flexible. Isn't it true? If it is not strong, there's a disaster. If it is not single pointed and sharp, there's a problem. And if it doesn't bend, you can't go over the other pole. But if you have that and the right timing, isn't it? And when you do that, you can go over. It looks very beautiful. Have you seen them swing so gracefully onto the other side? Similarly, what is the culmination of the mind? When can you see your mind has reached its pinnacle of achievement? When you and I understand the limit that the mind can go and we can go beyond the mind. Have you understood? That is it. You take your mind to its ultimate limit and you understand this is the limit of the mind. The mind can go so far and not further. And that is why a great man like Einstein said, I only wish I could know the mind of God. All else is mere details. He had to say that because he understood the limit of mind. He said words like, there where science ends, philosophy begins. He knows that you can go only this far and no further with your mind. All your achievements, your technical achievements, your scientific achievements, all your mind powers can take you only there and not beyond. Now, with your permission or with your concurrence or this, can we try to go beyond the mind? No demand, no supply. At least let's go intellectual as an intellectual exercise. First of all, to be able to recognize that there's something beyond the mind. That itself is a big thing. As I said, to recognize the dirt on your face is the first step to be able to remove the dirt. Similarly, to recognize that there is something beyond the mind is the first step to going beyond the mind. Do you all see the mic? Yes? Your eyes are open. Your eyes see the mic. The seer is different from the seen. The seer can see the seen, but the seen cannot see the seer. The knower knows the known, but the known cannot know the knower. The knower is different from the known, thank God. Because if the knower becomes the known, you have problem. If you see a donkey, you know the donkey, what? You become a... Thank God you don't. The knower always remains different from the known. So the knower is different from the known. The knower knows the known, but the known does not know the knower. The eyes can see the mic. How do you know that the eyes see the mic? My mind knows that the eyes see the mic. Is it true or not? If the mind were somewhere else, the eyes could be open, but you don't see the mic. And that's how accidents happen. And when the accident happens, don't they say, "Arey, aankh khol ke chalao na?" To kya aankh band karke chalate hai kya? No, the eyes are open, but the mind is somewhere else, and therefore it happens. So the mind is there which knows what the eyes see. Is it true or not? So the mind is the knower or the seer of the eyes. That's why you say, I can't see well. Who knows that you can't see well? Not the eyes. The mind knows that the eyes don't see well. Is that okay? So the mind is the knower and the eyes are the known. The knower is different from the known. The knower knows the known, but the known cannot know the knower. The mind knows what the eyes see, but the eyes cannot know what the mind thinks. Are you with me? Now, who knows what's happening in your mind? I ask you a question, do you understand what I am speaking? Some of you will say yes, some of you will say no, doesn't matter at all. You don't understand? Of course I don't understand. I don't know what you're talking. Fine. You know you don't understand? Of course I know I don't understand. Right. You know you don't understand? Yes, I know I don't understand. Who is the I that knows you don't understand? I know I don't understand. Understanding or not understanding is happening where? In your mind. Is it true or not? Yes. That's where it happens. The mind understands or it doesn't understand. So the mind, I know my mind. I know that I understand. The knower is different from the known. The knower knows the known, but the known cannot know the knower. So there is an I beyond the mind, because of which the mind knows what it knows. Have you understood that? That I. This is the one we are talking about, where the rishis go. The great sages have gone. They have understood the limit to which the mind can go, and they have gone beyond that mind to know that I, that infinite truth, all the limitations are there. But when you go beyond that, you come to a realm with no limitations. As I said, time, space and objects cannot have separate existence apart from thoughts in your mind. And when you go beyond thoughts, you have gone beyond time, space and objects. Have you understood that? And in that realm of reality, which is called Atma, which is called Paramatma, which is called God realization, Sakshatkar, Moksha, Nirvana, these are only different synonyms of the same thing. So this is the capacity of the mind, and believe me, you all can do it. We always remain in our own. We need to master the mind to go what? What? Beyond the mind. And when you reach that stage beyond the mind, why should we do all this thing? Because that is a state of bliss and all peace. Now, I'm asking you the last question. Do you all want to be happy? Yes or no? Yes. Now, what type of happiness do you want? You want dhamal happiness? And I can't translate the word dhamal, you all know. You want dhamal happiness or you want shanta happiness? If all those who said shanta, they must have become quite old, I'm sure. All the youngsters would have said dhamal chahiye humko. It's a very strange thing. All of us want excitement, all of us want happiness, all of us want peace also. It's a very strange thing, and I'm going to tell you something. Please think about it. Maybe you won't accept it now, but just think about it. Our Upanishads say that. Shantam Shivam Advaitam Chaturtham Manyante Sa Atma Savigneya. Atma or the self is Shantam. I'm asking you this because majority of the world has a problem. No peace of mind, agitation, stress, strain, tension, etc. Isn't it true? We all want peace of mind, we want happiness? Yes. Now, I'm making you realize this very important thing. When will there be peace in this hall? When he started talking, the peace was broken. Is it true or not? There was peace. Peace cannot be created. I want all of you to know this. Peace cannot be created. Peace is a natural state. Peace is not created. It is only agitation and noise that is created. I hope this is very clear. It's a very, I don't know whether you get the impact of what I'm trying to say. Peace is not created. Peace is your natural state. You are peace. You create agitation, and what you create, you can stop. Have you got the point? Yes or no? So I'm giving you a key to mind management. Have you got it? And whose hand is it in? Bolo. Whose hand? You created the agitation, you created the stress, you created the noise, you created all the gadbad. You stop creating it, full stop. It's already peaceful. Have you got it? Many times people say, Swamiji, how should I stop getting angry? And I tell you, there's only one real answer. Stop getting angry. Sure. See, it's a question. How can I stop talking? Don't talk. Have you got my point? There is no other answer. Actually speaking, there is no answer. But we say, no, you tell me. That is not an answer. No. Then I'll say, get up at 3 in the morning, hold your nose, get up and do up and down, and then you will feel peace. Ah, Swamiji, you gave practical advice. Arey, what? The actual solution is, the minute the agitation stops, there is peace. You started the agitation, you just stop creating it anymore. You say, I'm not going to participate in creating agitation in my own mind. I refuse to back all this nonsense that's going on in my mind. You stop it, it stops. You stop giving momentum to your thoughts, the thoughts stop. But you keep giving momentum. You keep giving all masala and fuel to it. And you say, bandi nahi hota hai, kahan se hoega? Have you got the point? This is a very, very important thing, and it's a key to mastering it. The Upanishad says it so simply, Shantam Shivam Advaitam Chaturtham Manyante Sa Atma. You are that bliss. You are happiness. You are creating unhappiness. You are creating agitation. You are creating stress. And then you go around and you want a mantra, and you want a tantra and a guru and everyone to what? Help you what? When the key is where? Okay. So with that, I end my session on mastering the mind as given in the Upanishads. Believe me, this is an endless topic. It's a very, very huge this. I only touched on this, and still none of you can say you don't have the key. Okay. I have given you the key, and I hope you get the same bliss that the rishis have promised that you will get when you master your mind and go beyond the mind. Thank you, and Hari Om, Namaskar.